Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of churches with our executive director. Mark, as you know, but so that everyone watching or reading knows, I am recording this in Louisville because I'm at the WorshipGod conference. WorshipGod
Outstanding, Ben.
22. Yeah,
It just got started last night, I think. What's it been like so far?
it's been fantastic. I haven't been to WorshipGod probably since 2000, around 2010. I don't know what year it was. Loved it back then. Always wanted to go. Never really found the time, and just unexpectedly had the opportunity to fly in yesterday, fly out tomorrow night. So I'll miss a little bit of it. But so far, it has been deeply edifying, encouraging, equipping. In the
Mm,
limited time that I've been here, went to a breakout session with Mike Bullmore on biblical meditation. Heard a
mm.
fantastic sermon that Jeff Purswell taught. Preached last night. Heard Mark Jones earlier. Nah, I hadn't heard him before. Now a big fan. And so yeah, having a great time.
I'm so glad you're there. Actually, it's the first Worship God conference we've had in 3 years,
Right.
primarily because of the pandemic. And I'm so grateful to Bob Coughlin and the Sovereign Grace
Yes.
Music team who really put all the effort into pulling this conference off. It's so important because what we do each and every Sunday when we gather as a church is worship. That's one expression of worship. And a part of the desire for Bob is to train worship leaders and bands and vocalists and tech people so that our worship grows and grows in its impact and brings glory to God. And
Yes.
it's one thing to train a worship leader in terms of how to lead through worship, but it's another thing to provide the theological foundations as to
Right.
why leading is so important. So, for example, the theme of this conference, Worship God Conference, is unchanging God, the immutability of God Himself, and to just think about that theme and
Mhm.
be affected and impacted by that theme through each of the sermons is only going to strengthen all those who are involved in pulling off worship on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
It'll make God grander and bigger, which affects the way we're being led by worship leaders and how those serving on sound teams and those on
Yeah.
worship teams are serving us as they lead us in worship.
Yeah. I mean, Bob is such a gift uh, to Sovereign Grace and beyond Sovereign Grace in significant ways. I mean, just down to the details. I was sitting in a breakout session with him earlier, where the whole breakout was about how to do transitions during the Sunday service well. Theologically informed transitions. Now, where are you getting that from? Well, you're
Right,
getting it from Bob.
right.
It didn't mention the singing. The crowd is mic'd. I don't think I've seen that before. And when you're in a room singing with, I think I heard over 600 people are here. You're in a room with over 600 people that are involved in leading worship. It's important to stop singing sometimes and just listen to the glory that's happening, parts and harmonies and everything that's happening. You wouldn't want the crowd at the pastors conference necessarily, Mike.
Exactly.
That's going to sound different. A lot of enthusiasm,
Yes.
not quite the same musicality. But
Yes.
this, as you well know, and I imagine most guys are aware of, the influence of Sovereign Grace music extends far beyond uh, Sovereign Grace churches, our small family of churches. This morning we had the opportunity to have a bilingual time of singing together. Um, as we sang in Spanish, I did not do very well with that, but I tried. Sang in sang in English, and in fact, this is different than, for instance, the pastors' conference, because many of the people there are not part of Sovereign Grace churches. They're coming because they appreciate Sovereign Grace music and they want to learn from Bob and the other people that are going to be here.
Mm.
Talk to us about the influence beyond Sovereign Grace and Sovereign Grace music.
Yeah, it's a wonderful favor that God has given to Sovereign Grace Music and to Bob. They just
Yeah,
have favor with people in
yeah,
all organizations and denominations and movements of churches. You mentioned this morning being led in worship in bilingual or being led in bilingual worship.
yeah.
And the couple that led, Jonathan and Sarah Yaris, I believe their name is, they're not a part of Sovereign Grace, but they are dear friends of Sovereign Grace. In fact, they
Mm,
worked with Bob and just recording and is now being produced our most recent Spanish album being publicized or being soon be available from Sovereign Grace Music, entitled "In You We Hope." And they have a wonderful following, and they have the respect of Christians in the Spanish speaking world, and they're partnering with Sovereign Grace and helping us to pull that album off. So that's a wonderful example. The other example is there are folks traveling from Australia that are part of City of Light,
Yes,
which I believe are Anglicans, actually, if I remember right, who have produced some wonderful worship songs that
so good.
I think many of them have been sung in Sovereign Grace churches. They're
sure.
there. They're going to be a part of the Worship God conference as well. So those are just a couple of expressions of the reach and the influence and the impact that Sovereign Grace music is having, not only in Sovereign Grace, outside of Sovereign Grace, and throughout the world. And it's another reason why I thank God for Bob and for the Sovereign Grace music team.
Yeah, it's gratifying to see what we've enjoyed for decades coming out of Sovereign Grace Music, Bob's leadership, how we've been served so well by Sovereign Grace Music and the songs that we sing, to see that actually spread globally and serve other Christians in other contexts. I believe Bob said this morning that out of the top 20 YouTube videos of Sovereign Grace Music songs, 14 of them are in Spanish. So it appears Sovereign Grace Music is more popular globally than even here in the States. So what a thrill to be a part of all of that.
It is. Let me, for the people that are listening or reading this podcast, let me encourage you that maybe sometime in the future, you should try to get to Worship God.
Yeah.
Even if you don't lead worship or participate on a band or vocalists or even do sound, it will be a very edifying conference for you. And until then, just a reminder, Bob has a regular podcast called Sound Plus Doctrine.
Yeah.
That's a podcast that's available on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And that is also really, really good for a number of reasons, whether you are involved in leading worship and pulling off worship or not. So just a couple of, just a resource to mention and an encouragement to attend Worship God in the future.
That's good. Yeah, we brought a handful of people down from the church that they've been enjoying it immensely. I would encourage all pastors to attend at least one, but I think maybe even I would suggest that senior pastors make a point of going, not only to be edified, but also to help you to learn how to serve those who lead the singing on Sunday mornings, which you definitely will be equipped to do better. So, all right. Thanks, Mark, for your thoughts. Thank you all for watching or reading. We'll see you here next week, Lord willing. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.